Hello and welcome to the Sistership Circle podcast. I am Tanya Lynn, and I am absolutely thrilled to have this conversation today with the amazing Giordana Toccaceli.
Yes.
We said it right. Oh my God. So we are going to dive into an amazing conversation today, all about you as a woman owning your irresistible factor, all about embodying your power, really integrating your masculine and feminine. And we're going to dive into who you need to be to really attract the man of your dreams. So let me tell you a little bit about Giordana. She's an international dating, intimacy, and relationship expert and teacher of feminine masculine energy dynamics between men and women. She has worked with top CEOs, billionaires, celebrities, and models, as well as everyday incredible men and women to heal and thrive in the love and relationship piece of their lives. So this is something that's really, really near and dear to my heart, as I have stepped into a lifelong commitment with my beloved partner, twin flame, soulmate. And so I know how hard it is sometimes to find the man of your dreams and who you need to be to really attract a partner who's going to match you. And so I am so thrilled that we get to speak with someone who can really shed some light on this. And we just get to dive into some really, really juicy conversations today. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
To be here. I love you. I love your energy. Love what you're doing. So I am honored and so excited to dive deep into this.
Yes. And so I just want to start with, your bio is so impressive. You worked with, top people and helping them in this area. And I'd love for us to just start with your story and how did you get to doing this amazing work in the world?
Yeah, it's interesting because the business itself online is only a year old, but I've been doing it for longer. But a lot of people think, how did you succeed so fast? And I've been marinating in this message since I was a kid. This has been something that has been lifelong, a lifelong devotion, a lifelong passion. So I think it started pretty much as a kid where I would hear people talk and I would hear their mind talking and then I'd hear their heart talking and I'd be like, that's not matching up. So basically I always kind of knew what people were feeling and what they meant to say and when there was a disconnect for them in their mind. And so I would start with my parents, start to kind of mediate between them when things weren't being understood. I would help my girlfriends came to me for guy trouble and guys came to me for advice. And, the guys I dated were drawn to kind of like just my energy itself. And so it just kind of started young and it's been a lifelong passion to understand the heart. So that's pretty much the foundation of what I do, because if you date someone, you need to understand their heart, what makes them tick and who they are. And that's kind of how it got started. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so you were, I guess, coaching and then decided to go online and bring your message in a bigger way. Is that what I'm assuming?
Yeah. And so
amazing.
I started doing health coaching about 4 years ago on the side. And then when I got serious about it, the company began growing. And then one day I just knew it was time. And I thought, I already helped so many people with the relationship piece in their life. I would have people write me telling me I'd changed their marriage or I'd helped a woman get into a relationship just over and over and over. And I thought, this is it. I've got to just in the realm of everything think about how love drives our society, love stories, movies, music. And I just thought this desire within us to be loved in this way and to have this intimacy and to share, this has been driving me and this is what I want to do. And so I started to do it locally. The business began growing and, I'd just been doing it for a long time that way. And then I decided to take it online and it just grew very fast and it was just awesome. Yeah, it's just been an amazing journey and just getting started.
And we're going to get into a couple other, go more deep into this. But, one of the ways that you and I connected was that you have this amazing Facebook group for women. And so can you just share a little bit about that? I mean, you know, for women who are looking for support in this area, I thought it would be a great thing to mention. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Great. So I've got a group of women, and it's called Irresistible Women. It's a free Facebook group online, and it's a place where, you know, women are celebrated and allowed to investigate their feminine energy and just kind of come in, and it's like a forum for relationships. And if they need to post a question and just share and, you know, connect with other sisters, that's the way to go. So anyone is more than welcome to join us. We're Irresistible Women on Facebook.
Awesome. Okay, so irresistible. That's where I want to start here. Is you talk a lot about being an irresistible woman. You are an irresistible woman. I mean, you were saying how men were drawn to your energy.
Yes.
So what does that mean for women, and how do you get in touch with your irresistibility, if that's even the word?
Irresistibility, you know, irresistibility as a woman. Well, first I'll say, you know, what we're being taught as women today, Tanya, and I'm sure that you can relate, is there's a very strong empowerment message that I'm very grateful for, because, you know, Women's Lib allows me to do what I do today, which is front a successful company in a business. But a lot of the message is very masculine and it masculine, you know, it makes women into very masculine women. It disconnects us from our femininity. It disconnects us from who we are as women. And so, you know, it's easy for us to become mothers. It's easy for us to become wives. It's easy for us to become lady bosses. But what does it mean to be a woman? You know, what part of you, when you say I'm a woman, what do you feel? Oftentimes it's a vulnerable question. And it's a question that leaves us feeling a little bit, like I said, vulnerable, and a little bit like, what does that mean? And then we have all these definitions in society of what it means to be a woman. And it can leave us searching for our essence and the depth of who we are as women outside of ourselves and outside of our bodies and outside of our beings. And so, you know, I love the idea that a goddess emerges deeply from within herself. And so the more that, you know, she moves out of her mind and she moves into her heart and into her feeling world, into the essence of who she is, she embodies woman. Because masculine energy, you know, everybody has masculine and feminine energy. But, you know, I coach men every single week. I coach very successful men every single week. And I hear from them week in and week out what they long for in partners and how they identify as men and all this stuff. I'm so sorry. And so, yeah, you know, they tell me we want feminine energy. We want a woman. You know, we don't want to marry a woman that forgets who she is. She becomes a mother. And we want this, you know. And so oftentimes they'll tell me something like, I went out with a woman and she was gorgeous, but she felt like a man. Or they'll say, I went out with a woman and she's very pretty, but I just didn't feel it. They'll say things like that. And what they're really saying is, I didn't feel her essence as a woman. I didn't feel her feminine energy. You know, as women, we're very attracted to men who are masculine, who know how to be men. And so they're looking for women that know how to be women. So what does this mean, right? And so an irresistible woman is a woman who's connected to that within herself. She's connected to her feeling world. She's really connected to the essence of who she is. You know, she descends from her mind. And I found a lot with this empowerment message that a lot of women are trying to be feminine through their minds. So I'm the goddess, I'm this, I'm that, you know, and they're reaching for definitions of who they are without connecting here. You know, it's here. And archetypes are awesome. I've used them myself, but without connecting here, you're going to completely bypass the power of who you are as an irresistible woman.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly, I mean, you're literally speaking into what I also believe in and what I teach. And that piece of, I'm so clear that I was so masculine and I had to go through this major swing to the other side into my feminine, and then kind of come back into balance. Right. And exactly. Not completely dismiss my masculine side, but I had to swing way over. And it was after doing all that work and really integrating my feminine essence, that then my man showed up. you know, and it was like the constant, my last relationship before that, it was like, I mean, he basically said, "You're too masculine."
Wow.
He literally said that the 2 days before he broke up with me. He's like, you're too much in your masculine.
Yeah. And you're competing with
and
and I always tell women
exactly. Yeah.
What I tell women who can't understand why that would be a turnoff, I say, how would you feel? You know, because love is across the board, and you can have, you know, there are many genders. I work with women who want a specific type of man. You know, they want that manly man that's going to protect them, and that's what they want. So that's where I work in. And so I say to them, how would you feel if you came home and there was an insect running around your apartment and he screamed louder than you did and pushed you to, you know, to kill the insect, you know, or if an intruder was coming in and he was like, you go check the door, you know, or if he took longer at doing his hair and nails than you did. For most women, that would be a serious turnoff, because his feminine energy would be competing with theirs, you know? And so that's what I say. So when you're very much in your masculine energy, and we can talk a lot more about what that is, and you're in relationship with a man who wants to feel that he's with a woman, for them, it's a huge turnoff.
So let's go into that, because I think some women might be listening to this and saying, okay, well, what does that mean for me to be really in my essence? And what does that really look like? So I would love for us to get a little bit tangible right now.
Absolutely. So when you're in your masculine energy as a woman, you're the one chasing. You're the one leading and pushing the relationship forward. So you're the one asking for commitment, trying to nail down commitment, trying to nail down security. You're managing instead of being with. Okay, so you're managing a man, you're mothering a man, you're trying to control the situation instead of being vulnerable, instead of really connecting from your essence. And so you've got an agenda, you know, in the same way that we as women don't like it when a man just wants to get us into bed and he doesn't care about getting to know us. If you're very obsessed about the relationship itself and you're not getting to know a man, he starts to feel, you know, mothered, controlled. You're in your masculine when your emotions are not expressed. You're not expressive with your emotions. You're not saying, I feel, you know, you're not kind of connected there. You're in your masculine when you're very logical and in your mind, and you're very achievement oriented. You're in your masculine when you, when you're leading and when you're fighting instead of being vulnerable, you're challenging, you're confronting, you're being aggressive. These are all masculine ways of relating to men. Yeah, I'm trying to think of thousands of stories that I could share. I'm trying to, in my mind, I
love that.
Which particular example should I use? Because there are so many, right? So to give one example, you know, I had a married couple a few months ago, and she was just relating to him through her masculine and through her mother. They'd just gotten married and she was mothering him, and he didn't want to be mothered. And she thought, I'm being nurturing and loving. Why is he not receiving? So one quick example, you know, their marriage, he was not getting the sexual connection, the space, the nourishment from her being and her heart, the feminine, intimate connection that he was so longed for. He wasn't getting that. But then she was cooking, cleaning, you know, doing all the mother stuff. And so she was like, but I love him. Why isn't he appreciating me? And I was like, well, the biggest things he wants from you, you don't even know. You know, and if you don't even know what your partner wants most from you, your relationship already doesn't have the level of intimacy in the feminine that it needs to, because feminine is about knowing, deeply knowing the man that you're with. You know, understanding him at his core, understanding what drives him, who he is, respecting him as a man. You know what I mean? So these are the essences as a woman. And so I can give you many examples. You know, one woman was married, and she hadn't had sex with her husband, and she had sex with her husband once a month, and he wanted it multiple times a week, you know. And she said, but I've been his wife for 23 years. Shouldn't he know that I'm his wife? Shouldn't he know that he loves me by now? I mean, entitlement right there. Entitlement, a complete misunderstanding of relationship and men. And I said, when was the last time, and I'll be super direct, but when was the last time you slept with him? When was the last time you connected really intimately with him? And she was like, oh, well, once or twice a month, that should be enough. You know what I mean? It's a big disconnect there. Or I had another client who gave her husband, like I said, the marriage wasn't good. She wasn't giving him all this stuff. And then she gave him a gift. And the gift was a frame of their wedding photo to put in his office. And he didn't want it. He did not want this frame. And so when she came to me, she was like feeling rejected. How could he reject this? And I said, who was the gift for? And the gift was actually for her. She wanted to validate her marriage in his office, entering her space and wanting validation for the marriage. So things like that are highly disconnected ways of relating with men. And feminine is all about connection. So yeah, so that's just some examples.
Yeah. It's so funny because one of our issues was exactly that, where the mothering, I was doing a lot of the mothering where, it was like I'm cooking and, I'm having to provide food for our little one. And so it's like I'm cooking the meals and I'm feeling like not appreciated for it. Right. And he's like, I don't need you to do that. And it was amazing. And also like for him, he's wanted to be on a diet. Yeah. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to do my own meals.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to eat. And so if I just make my own meals, this is just going to solve all our problems. And sure enough, it totally did. Yeah. And if anything, now that he's doing this, he's making the family meals. Yeah. And it's just amazing how, like, when we get into that mother energy, and as a new mother, it's like I was slipping into that, and I had to have that conscious awareness of, okay, I'm mothering him now as well as my baby, and I need to be his lover. Like, that's what he needs from me, and I need to connect with him.
He needs his
being sexy. And getting dressed up, not just being dressed kind of as, the mom who doesn't leave the house, So I started to do that, just putting makeup on, and he'd be like, oh, why are you all dressed up today? I'm like, just because, but he loves it. So I love that you use that example, and how we think that, well, this is being of service, right? Like me cooking and cleaning and doing these wifely chores and different things, like, he should appreciate that I'm taking care of the household in this way, but it's not actually what they're needing from us in order to feel that attraction.
Yeah. And, he needs his girlfriend. He needs his lover. So many men tell me week in and week out, these are the things they tell me. Okay. They'll tell me, I will get in a marriage. She will become a mother. I will lose my wife. And then I will be in a monogamous union where I can't sleep with other women, even though I have sexual needs, and I will be now obligated. The next thing they tell me is she'll let herself go. She'll stop being the radiant woman I met, and she'll change. She'll let herself go, and then I won't feel attraction anymore, and then I'll feel guilty about it, and I won't know what to do. Or they'll say, they'll feel unappreciated and stuff like that. So yeah, it's the concept of, do we lose our woman? Do we lose our girlfriend? Do we lose our lover? And move into other roles without really connecting to our partner in that way. And he needs those things. He needs that so much from his woman to be a man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing is, it takes something, right? Like this really takes something, especially once you're a new mom and all of a sudden, we're talking about number 2. And so it's like, oh my God, like it's just a lot that we have to hold as women. Okay. So, and I know, this. So what are some of the things that we can do to have that conscious awareness, to not let ourselves go when it feels sometimes like we are losing ourselves, what would you say, and what do you say to the women who you
Okay,
coach?
first of all, I would say, if you're a newborn mom, forget it. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a few months while that child is born where you're meant to be a mother. You know what I mean? But the idea is that it's temporary. If it goes on for years, if it goes on for a very long time, you know what I mean? Like, another thing that men tell me is, women marry men hoping they'll change, and men marry women hoping they'll never change. So the idea is, your woman is for him, but she's for you. I have a lot of, this is fascinating. It's very interesting. We're going into what I'm about to go into, but, I have a lot of women, and they are humans too. They have a little inner child too. They have a woman, they have sexual desires, they have all this stuff within them. And if it's neglected for a long period of time, the children will pay for it one way or another. So, for example, just in the last 2 weeks, I've spoken to mothers of little boys and girls, and it was a very safe space to have a conversation. And they started telling me how their little girl was triggered by their children, and how their inner world was triggered, and how they felt so guilty about it, and how they felt like they didn't know how to handle it. So any aspect that we neglect within ourselves, we pass on. There's in Spanish we say hay factura, there's a bill to pay for it. So you want to connect to your woman for yourself, because there's the soul of connection. So what happens if a woman neglects her inner woman? She then becomes a mother to her children, and she ceases to be a human and a woman. Okay? And so if she ceases to be a human or a woman with her child integrates within itself an imbalanced psyche. Okay? Because the mother is the sacrificial woman. So you have no idea, Tanya, how many women I speak to who have become masculine because they had a mother who was a doormat and a sacrificial woman with no sense of self. And so the woman integrated within herself that feminine energy is passive, weak, powerless, has no sense of self. And so they then took on their father, who was the masculine, able to do things. And so deep in their subconscious, their relationship to their woman is formed by how their mother models being a woman. And so to answer your question, I would say, this is what I would say. If I was a newborn mother, I'd say, I'm going to give myself the most loving break possible and enjoy this to the max and be there for my child and bond. But after a while, I will understand that sacrificing myself for my child actually disintegrates my child's concept of woman. If he's a man, he will not understand how to give to a woman because he has a mother that gives. And he doesn't understand how to give back to his mother. If it's a little girl, I'm forming her woman. So I have a kind of a duty to myself to reclaim my relationship with my heart, with my soul, and with my body, and keep it alive.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
I think I want to share that, I see a lot of new moms struggle, and I've been there. It's so challenging.
It is.
But one of the things I was so committed to from day one was that balance, and making sure that I was not sacrificing myself, and that I was setting up some boundaries with my child, so that I can make sure I get enough sleep.
Yeah.
I can make sure that I'm able to leave and have a date night, and it took something, but from day one, I really had to make sure that I did that for myself. And I see some moms who at 2 years old, their baby's still not sleeping through the night and they're dying. It's just, I couldn't even imagine, because my baby's been sleeping through the night since 9 months because I created those boundaries, and I created structure for her, for myself, so it's like, I was constantly practicing that habit. So I just, and for me, it was about this integration, and I think this is the piece that you really speak into, is integration of masculine and feminine, right? And being able to integrate all these different parts of myself and not neglecting myself. So I love what you shared there.
It's relationship, right? It's like, are we still in relationship with our heart? How is our heart feeling? So, I had another conversation with a young mother this week, early 30s. And she said something very interesting. She said that her daughter had been had been having strong insecurities going to school, her young daughter, you know, and that she kept saying to her daughter, but you're beautiful. Don't you know that you're beautiful? You know, and immediately I asked her, you're bypassing your daughter's emotions. And she looked at me and said, oh my God, I do that all the time. I am so uncomfortable with my daughter's uncomfortable emotions. I'm not connecting with her, you know, and then that's a typical masculine way of connecting. It's, I'll tell you what to do or I'll speak over your emotions, but I'm somehow intimidated to engage with you internally. Right. And so she did the work with me. We engaged her with her heart. And then she went home and wrote me and said, I had the most amazing connection with my daughters I've ever had. And so that connection with herself took her to a much more genuine, authentic place, and her daughter started settling down. So yeah,
Wow. Mm.
yeah, I have a lot of stories like that, actually. Clients who integrate their emotional world and their children without them telling anything to their children balance out. Yeah.
I love that. Where we bypass emotion and we want to just make it better. We want to just put a Band-Aid on it versus actually connecting with the feeling within ourselves. Oh my God. I love that. One of the things that you talk about is the sacred body, or treating the body as sacred, you know. Can we talk a little bit about that and what you mean by that?
Yeah. I mean, I went through my own very, very personal struggle with health and my own kind of, you know, death and rebirth with kind of finding my own solutions to my health. But there's no doubt in my mind that neglect of the body it has a serious impact on our emotional well-being, on our energy levels, on our brain chemistry, on our outlook on life. You know, I went through this personally, where if I was very, very, you know, not sleeping correctly, not nourishing my body, not moving my body, my outlook on life would become very gray, and my willpower would become very gray. I'd become very emotionally up and down. And this is because there's a huge effect on our hormone levels and on our brain chemistry. And so I'll often have women, and they'll come to work with me, and in particular cases, I know we won't get anywhere emotionally until they sort out some body issues. And so, you know, being connected to your body, because, you know, it's a very confusing message, Tanya, and I think I can really relate, and every woman can relate, right? We've got the message of be a perfect supermodel to get love, be thin, be perfect on the outside, which actually doesn't get you what you think you're going to get through that. And then we have the other message, who cares what you look on the outside? Accept yourself. You know what I mean? Accept yourself just as you are, you know, which to me is a message of entitlement, because when you're with a partner, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, and you completely neglect yourself and abandon yourself, and that partner is only supposed to sleep with you. I mean, I don't think that's really fair to your partner, right? Like, you should have that conversation with your partner. So we have these two messages of who cares, do whatever you want, live however you want, eat whatever you want, and accept yourself. And then we have the other message of, you know, enslave yourself to some perfection to be loved. And I think they're both off. I think the real question is, what would love do? You know, is it loving for me to understand my body, because I'm in relationship with my body? My body isn't my slave. It isn't just an appendage to abuse. My body serves me every day. How can I serve my body? So if I understand that my body needs basic requirements and certain care so that it can support me and it can support my family, I mean, I can't do what I do at the level that I do if I'm not well taken care of, right? And then the next thing is, what would love do? If I show up trying to be the best version of myself at all levels for my partner, whatever that looks like, it's different for everybody. But if I put in an effort, is that loving for my partner? I would say yes, it's very loving, you know? And so what would love do? What does it look like on whatever spectrum you're on? That can look different for anybody and everybody. But what would love do? Is it loving for me to care for myself? Yes. Does it build my esteem? Yes. Does it send a message to my subconscious that I value myself when I care for myself? Yes. I would say that.
I love that. Our bodies are serving us, and so how can we serve our bodies? That's beautiful.
Because all of it, Tanya, is
Yeah,
relationship. All
it's
of it is
relationship.
Yeah.
Everything's relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Can we just repeat that again? Everything is relationship. Sometimes we think that we're just in this bubble by ourselves, right?
right.
And that it's all about me, 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 but we are constantly in relationship. All relationships are mirrors of us, and we are constantly relating to
We're
the
relating.
world around us.
We are
Yeah.
influencing. We are being influenced. We are needed. We have needs. You know what I mean? It's a perfect ecosystem. It's interdependence. And so, yeah. So, with your body, do you understand that you have a relationship that you're responsible? Do you believe responsibility is part of a relationship dynamic? Because I do. You know, I believe that with a loving relationship to a man comes the responsibility of understanding that if he's in a committed relationship with me, what does he need from me? You know, and asking that question. I mean, can you think of anything more loving than really trying to understand how your partner needs to be loved? You know what I mean? And then understanding, well, what do I need? You know, I'm just kind of going back to those conversations I had with those new mothers and just giving them the space to tell me, sometimes my daughter triggers me and triggers some inner child stuff for me. And for her to have the space to even process that, you know what I mean? And to be able to give herself the love and attention she needs is vital. You know, so what would love do? Would love condemn a mother and leave her alone because she's having these feelings, or would she create a space where she can process and be with herself, so that then she can be with her family and loved ones? What does she need? Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we've kind of talked about this, but why do you think there's so much divorce in our country?
I think it's very, very basic. We don't understand what the other is needing, and I think that we take our partner's needs as a personal rejection over and over and over. So, you know, I'll see women who they've been dating a man for 2 months and they're ready to go all in, because women have a different commitment timeline than men do. And so they're ready to go all in. They're emotionally in, because for women, it's, I'm all in, let's see what happens later, you know? And for men, it's, okay, let me figure this out. And it's more logical and practical. Let's see how, you know, if I take her to my family, does it work? Like, he wants the consistency of, let me see her over time consistently and see if it's safe to fall in love and make myself vulnerable to a woman, you know, because as a man, vulnerability is very threatening in a masculine world. He's not supposed to be vulnerable because, you know, he needs to protect and provide. And so if a woman jumps in and then she's like, why doesn't he love me? Why isn't he telling me he's committed to me? And doesn't understand that it takes longer for him, 6 months, really, you know, 3 to 6 months at least. She starts resenting him, playing games, pushing him away. And so I think this misunderstanding, these misunderstandings of how the other functions, how the other falls in love, what the other wants in relationship, what are the primal triggers, this is the cause of it. I mean, think about it. We go to school for business. We take courses for business. And yet relationship, we only go when, you know, everything's going downhill and we need a therapist. No one trained us. No one helped us understand. No one did any of that for us. And so I think this is why. Because I think a lot of relationships before were held by societal structures, and right now all of that is falling. I mean, the family unit, you know, you could have a sister in New York and another sister in Paris, and everything's changing that generally held together relationships, which brings a lot of great stuff and a lot of freedom, but it also brings together the need to know how to adapt. We still are in the beginning stages of the adaptation, and so the quicker you can train yourself, educate yourself, and understand, the better you're going to be able to sustain a loving relationship long term. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming up on the end here. So I wanted to take a moment to have you share any resource or free gift that you have for the women who want to go deeper into some of this.
Absolutely. I would say, you know, you can one of the best places to find me and connect to me is on my personal Facebook page. So you can just look at my, look for my name. I'm sure it's going to be written somewhere here on the
We'll have a
interview.
link to that.
Yeah, so just Facebook me, add me as a friend, or come into our Facebook group. All you have to do on the Facebook bar is type in Irresistible Women, and it'll come up. And come join us, and come into this movement of, what it means to reclaim our femininity and our woman. And yeah, I'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm. So in the show notes of this podcast, you'll see the links to join the Facebook group, as well as to connect with Gio online, and any other resources, like if someone's wanting a good book or some other resource, what would you recommend?
Gosh, Tanya, I actually, let me think. Well, I love Brene Brown's stuff on vulnerability. I think that's awesome. I think reading Iron John, there's a book called Iron John, helps you really understand men in a very different light. I think that's a great resource. Yeah. And I think I just feel the need to say this, again, reconnecting to ourselves as women isn't about having to be something to be enough. I think that's the conversation we're engaging, all of us as healers, right? And really wanting to kind of engage in a very authentic way. So I would say reconnecting to your woman is about you reconnecting to your soul and who you are, and you giving to yourself, and you enjoying a relationship with a man in a mind-blowing way that's so much more intimate and beautiful, and just kind of growing into that. And it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
I love that. What a great place to end. Connecting with yourself as a woman is about reconnecting with your soul.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya.
I love that. So we've got some resources listed on the podcast show notes on the page. And thank you so much for your beautiful energy, your wisdom, your experience, and really helping women to have a breakthrough in this area of their life, of being irresistible, to just love themselves more, but to also call in their partner. So
yes, absolutely. All right, Tanya, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.